And there you have it. Here's your list of NFL games that are matchups this week. Let's just get into it. Ravens, Browns.
I'll lead it off here. I know that this game is very tough. Stout Browns defense, which we're going to give more reasons to, but I am going to take Baltimore going to Cleveland. It just felt like over the years, Baltimore has had a great record, obviously going and playing the Browns. It's not going to be an easy game by any means, but I hope that last week could be a good learning experience. I think the Ravens, it's going to be a low scoring game, going to battle it out, but I'm going to take Baltimore going on the road to Cleveland.
Browns are favored by 2.5 points. So this is going to be a very interesting one. Huge defensive matchup. I think we've heard some comments from Roquan Smith already this week about the Browns that they have taken out of context. We'll get into that later in the show, but I'm going to take the Ravens on this one as well. We do have some key players back. Kyle Van Noy got signed. We'll see if he actually starts, but I'm really liking the trend we're seeing the Ravens get into as far as health is concerned. So I'm taking the Ravens on this one. It's going to be close either way. I'm going to take the Ravens minus 2.
Plus 2.5.
Plus 2, sorry.
Plus 2.5. I think I'm going to take the Ravens. I'm going to take them outright to win the game, money line.
All right. So next up, you have Jags, Falcons. Jags are favored by 3 points, and the Jaguars got their asses kicked last week, surprisingly, by the Texans.
Handedly.
And we're gonna talk about CJ Stroud and the season he's having so far. We were fans immediately when we saw him against the Ravens. For this one, I think it's going to be a bounce back game. I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence and the Jags.
This game's in London, and the Jaguars, that's a home away from home.
Sure is. Yeah.
I want to take Jaguars in this one, but man, am I a little concerned with how they're playing right now? Absolutely. The fact that this offense that we're expecting to take more steps and Trevor Lawrence to take the next step, 9 points against the Chiefs, obviously better defense, and the Jaguars play the Texans only 17 points, so 26 points over the last 2 games, and the Falcons, the defense, they got lit up a little bit by Detroit. So time will tell, but I'm with you. I think the Jags find a way to get it done and even their record to 2-2.
Yeah, I think so too. Rams and Colts. Now, this is going to be an interesting game, Ryan. The Colts are favored by 1.5. We saw the Rams play the Bengals last week, and I will say that, the Rams kind of had the Bengals in a corner until Jamar Chase ripped off a couple big plays. I thought that it was a very winnable game for the Rams, and the Colts definitely have a defense. And we saw that last week, and we've been talking about it kind of all season, that the Colts actually have a sneaky good defense that not a lot of people are talking about. They don't have the same pieces they had in seasons past when the Colts were absolutely dominant on that side of the ball, but they're still a great defense. This is a tough one for me, but I think I am going to take the Colts minus 1.5.
I'm going to take the Rams, and I think because it looks like Anthony Richardson's going to play, obviously a dynamic rookie, but I like how Matthew Stafford's playing, and I know that things are a little bit out of sync for them, and they're not executing as well, but that defense is playing well.
Yeah.
I trust that Sean McVay is going to help this team get back on track, and quite frankly, the Rams have more to lose in this game. I think they're going to play with a little bit more desperation. I think Matthew Stafford finds a way to get it done. I think the Rams pull off the upset in Indy.
Next up, we have Panthers, Vikings. And man, this has been tough. The Vikings are 0-3, but they've had some really tough games and some really close games. They've really struggled to kind of like close them out. We saw, and honestly, they should have won the game against the Chargers. We already talked about it, but I think if they can get the running game together, that the Vikings will do okay versus the Panthers. The Panthers just don't have that kind of defense. And honestly, Kirk Cousins is playing his ass off. Even though they're 0-3, their record does not show how good they actually are. So I'm taking the Vikings to win their first game -4.
I'm right there with you. I'm taking the Vikings with this solely because of the fact of I like where they are, and there's really no excuse for the Vikings not to win this game.
Yeah.
They have the better team right now. I know that Carolina has some great pieces, but Kirk Cousins, this group, and I know the one thing that Carolina's been gashed. They got gashed by the Seahawks last weekend. Kenneth Walker went off for the Seahawks, but that is something that the Vikings have struggled with, is running the football. So they're going to need to run the football more effectively, but when you also have Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in football, you should be in good hands. They win this game. They're not out of it yet. 1-3. They'll sit 2 games back in the division. It's not out of reach, but you're going to have to play some better football.
Could make a wild card run for sure. They're not winning the division, I don't think. Bengals and Titans. This is going to be an interesting one too. The Bengals are coming off their first win. The Titans have had a really rough time so far offensively this season. DeAndre Hopkins is just unheard of right now.
Well,
And this
yeah.
has just been pretty brutal for the Titans. They beat the Chargers, and that's kind of really all we heard from them. And it was an overtime game. The Chargers obviously also struggling somehow, even though they're putting up ridiculous numbers. But Bengals are favored by 2.5. Who do you got here?
I'm going to lean Tennessee. And maybe just because the Bengals have won the last two going down there, including that playoff game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a close game, in my opinion. And Mike Vrabel's a guy, I think when the team gets embarrassed, they're going to look themselves in the mirror and they're going to come out and give a better performance. They were embarrassed in Cleveland.
Yeah, they got their asses kicked.
And I don't know if I'm trusting that Joe Burrow is still fully healthy. I think the Titans defense is going to try to create more pressure, especially their defensive line. Derrick Henry, I think, is going to get back on track. Low scoring game, though. I don't see this being high scoring, but I think the Titans pull one out. What about you?
It's just a shame because I would really like to see DeAndre Hopkins get back to true form. He's obviously battling this ankle injury apparently, but I feel like his ankle would feel a lot better if he knew he was getting the ball, Well, and so it's just me hypothetically speaking, but I would love to see that happen. Nevertheless, I'm with you on Joe Burrow, and actually Jamar Chase actually came out and said and was quoted as saying that he wished that Burrow would actually had set out those first 2 weeks to get fully healthy. So I mean that's coming from the Bengals locker room. Now whether you believe that's true, whether you agree with that or not, neither here nor there. It's a thing, and it's creating this sentiment in the locker room itself. Not always a great thing. So I'm going to take the Titans on this one as well, plus 2.5, even though they're the underdogs.
And we're going to talk about it more, but they have faced some tough defenses, the Saints and the Browns, and Ryan Tannehill has really struggled against both those teams. Now, they haven't been able to run the football. They did not run the football well against the Browns specifically.
Yeah.
And that's going to hinder your offense. So hopefully, if they're able to open up the run game, maybe that will get DeAndre Hopkins, because I know he's a little bit older in their eyes, but he's a guy that is an extremely impactful player.
Still has ridiculous hands and he's always a jump ball winner.
Yeah.
Next up, we'll have Bucks Saints. Now, this is going to be another interesting one. Where are we at with Derek Carr?
So Derek Carr, I think there's some skepticism that he's going to play this week.
Okay.
I think that we're going to have to, it's a touch and go. They obviously have Jameis Winston as their backup quarterback. And Jameis came in and played admirably.
And a bad backup to have, that's for sure.
And Alvin Kamara is coming back this week as well for the Saints. So should be a really interesting game. And right now, the only report is there's no given timetable. It's a sprained AC joint at the moment specifically. I'm going to still take the Saints because the game is at home for New Orleans. And quite frankly, that's been a tough place to play for the Tampa Bay Bucks overall. The Saints in general have had the Bucks number over the years. I think that's going to kind of stay the same. So give me the Saints at home, and with Alvin Kamara coming back, that's definitely a boost to the offense.
I'm going the same, taking the same here. Baker Mayfield, as much as I kind of want to root for the guy, and we've talked about him before, I don't think they're actually quite clicking just yet. He's thrown for 636 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 INT. So he is protecting the ball for the most part, but he's just not making plays. And you got a guy like Mike Evans, who kind of seems to be the only guy that's been making plays for the team so far. The run game's still not quite there. So I'm going to take the Saints on this one too. I think they have a bounce back game. That defense is going to be all over Baker Mayfield and crew. So I'm taking the Saints on this one as well. Next up, we have a fantastic game. And this is going to be the Dolphins and Bills, Ryan. And this is the game that I've circled this week. You have the Bills, who finally found their groove again after that first week one, kind of like, they're going to write that game off, shaking the rust off, whatever you want to call it. But since then, they have done phenomenally well. Not as well offensively as the Dolphins, of course. Dolphins coming off of a 70-20 win against the Broncos. The Dolphins were doing whatever they wanted last week. I don't think they're going to do that this week. But I still think the Dolphins do end up winning this game. Bills are favored.
Somehow, games at home
-3. Maybe that's why. But I'm taking the Dolphins on this one +3.
Man, you know what? And maybe because so many things went well for Miami that you feel, and the obvious pick is to take the Dolphins. I'm going to take the Bills at home. I think Buffalo's defense has played extremely well. Even that game they lost to the Jets, it was more of Josh Allen not protecting the football than the Bills defense playing poorly.
Yeah.
And we saw last week they really put a lot of pressure. Now the difference is Tua is playing some tremendous football to start this season.
MVP football.
Yeah, but I think Josh Allen's gonna have his way against the Dolphins defense. I think this is gonna be a high-scoring game. If the game is in Miami, I'd take Dolphins, but games in Buffalo, give me the Bills Mafia.
Being at home could be interesting. Maybe it's close. It is a division game. They had a tough time with New England, so to speak. But yeah, it'll be fun one to watch. Next up, we'll have Broncos Bears. It's going to be a suck bowl for that one. I don't even know what to say. Who's going to play worse, the Broncos or the Bears? Broncos are favored by 3.5.
Well, the sad thing is the Broncos could still be 2-1 in this scenario. You know, they had a huge lead against the Commanders, lost that, and they had the Hail Mary and had the prayer answered, but didn't get the 2. Then they lost that game to the Raiders, a game at home that they probably should have won as well. And then you get absolutely smacked. I mean, no chance against the Dolphins, but that was humiliating. So I am going to take the Broncos just because when you get that embarrassed on that stage and that level and you're a mockery, I think that they're going to get back on track because that defense is way better than that. There's talented players there.
Both of those teams got embarrassed, though. I mean, you had the Bears. I mean, Taylor Swift whooped the shit out of them.
The Taylor Swift Chiefs really did a number. But my point is, at least Russell Wilson, this offense has done a few good things. Like they actually have done fine. Russ hasn't played that poorly. Not saying he's played that well either. There's still so many question marks with the Bears offense. So I'm going to take Russell Wilson and the Broncos to win this game.
I am going to take, I hate to say this. I'm taking the Bears.
Wow.
Screw it. Bears are going to get the first win, but I'm going the points. I'm going under the 46. The points, total points is 46 points. I'm going under. Neither one of these offenses are good. So I'm going under 46 on the Bears.
Under in the Bears. Well, I hope the best for you. And look, I actually want Chicago
46
to do
points
well.
Is a lot between these two teams.
I want Chicago to do well so bad. I am not sold at all. And I have Justin Fields in fantasy. Believe me, I want the guy to go ball out. And I love his talent. I love what he brings. But things just still don't seem right in Chicago.
Sean Payton doesn't seem right either, though.
Everything doesn't seem right with this matchup. Let's move on.
Next one's going to be Commanders and Eagles. Pretty safe to say that I'm taking the Eagles on this one. They are favored by 8.5 fucking points.
Yeah, I'm taking Philly. Philly, to me, you started to see it come together.
Yeah.
Last week defensively.
Yeah.
That defensive line's a problem.
Championship team looking like championship team. Next, we got Steelers and Texans. We're going to dive into this a little bit more detail, but I'm taking Texans on this one. CJ Stroud is looking like that dude, and the Texans defense is also looking well, going up against the struggling Steelers offense. Matt Canada still wanted out of that town by Steelers fans. So I'm taking the Texans on this one, and they are the underdogs by +3.
Hey, you know what? I don't like picking against Pittsburgh because they just feel like they're finding a little bit of group. Defensively, defense travels, but I'm with you. I'm going to take Texans here, mainly because of seeing what CJ Stroud's doing. His anticipation, his throws, we're going to get more into this game. It's really impressive to see. And clearly that Georgia game that everyone saw in the national championship was no fluke. He started to translate it over to the NFL. And the Texans, we're going to talk about some other players that they have, some young stars that are maybe emerging for them. Give me the Texans to pull the upset at home.
Yeah, I agree. Next one is going to be Chargers and Raiders. Another divisional matchup. Chargers and Raiders. This will be an interesting one. I think the Chargers do end up going 2-2 after this game. They are favored by 5.5 points. The Raiders just don't have it figured out. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is a question mark now. So I'm going Chargers on this one. Hopefully Brandon Staley doesn't find a way to screw this one up because it should be an easy win for them.
Divisional games are always going to be more challenging, but I'm with you. Chargers are the better team. They have the better quarterback. It's at home. There's zero excuse for them to not get the 2-2.
Yeah. Next up, we have Cardinals and San Fran. Now, another divisional matchup. San Francisco is going to be favored by 14. But that guy Dobbs over there ain't bad. He actually looked pretty good against the Cowboys last week. And I think that it could be closer than some people might think. Look, the 49ers are still, in my opinion, the best team in the NFC.
No doubt.
And they've shown that. They are favored by 14 points. I think it's going to be closer than that.
Okay, so you're taking them to cover the spread,
Yes.
but Niners to win.
Yeah.
Oh man, I still think I love how the Cardinals are playing, but man,
Lots of close games the Cardinals have been in, even in their losses.
I will be extremely impressed if the Cardinals keep this one close, which they have done all season. But I think the Niners are on a way different level. I think this game is 49ers all the way. I don't think it's close. They've had 10 days off with the Thursday night game. Give me San Fran and give me San Fran winning by more than 2 scores.
We have Pats and Cowboys and Pats Cowboys and look, Cowboys. We just got done talking about them and the Cards. Lost to the Cardinals when everybody thought that Cowboys were going to, as they do, as Cowboys fans think every year, they get 1 or 2 wins in, and it's like they're automatically Super Bowl contenders. And I will say, I was a prisoner of the moment a little bit. You know, I thought the Cowboys looked like they were for real. They had outscored their opponents 70-10.
Pretty good, some would say.
Ain't bad. Micah Parsons is going bananas.
Beast.
You know, unfortunately, Trayvon Diggs is out for the season on the ACL tear. We heard about that last week.
Cowboys are favored by 6.5 points at home. Brad, what says you?
I am going to take the Pats.
Pats to win outright?
Pats to win outright.
Wow. Well,
and the only reason I say this is because Mac Jones looks like a different player out there since Bill O'Brien's taken over this offense. And I think they're starting to figure it out a little bit. I thought we saw that somewhat last week. And I think maybe this carries on over to this week. And I think Belichick is still Belichick. That defense on the other side of the ball is actually looking pretty good too.
I think the Pats have a good chance to cover this game, but I'm going to take Dallas just because Dallas was embarrassed on the road. And I'm going to go with the factor that they're going to bounce back at home.
Yeah.
That's where it was for me. If Dallas had 1-1, if Dallas went to Arizona and won that game, I'm feeling more confident about the Patriots on a lot of different factors. Even though Zeke's coming back to play the Cowboys and he's going to go out there and try to prove that, hey, shouldn't have let me go, even though Tony Pollard is a guy that should be featured on the Cowboys. I just think Dallas is going to bounce back, and I think it's going to could be a close game, but give me Dallas at home. Jets and Kansas City is on Sunday. And you know how I know the schedule, but you know how I knew that even more?
How?
Because it's reported that Taylor Swift's going to the football game. So
I thought it was okay. So that is my mistake. I also suck at my job.
Yeah, it's okay. But you know what?
So Kansas City and New York. Now, this was a game that was originally scheduled because it was going to against
Aaron Rodgers,
and now it is Zach Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes. This is going to be an absolute slaughter, in my opinion. Chiefs are favored by 9.5. Give me the Swifties taking the Chiefs.
I think it could be a little bit closer, but that Chiefs defense looks so good.
It ain't gonna be close.
The Chiefs are winning the game. I don't think there's any doubt
Zach
about
Wilson
that.
sucks. I don't. Saleh just needs to I understand the loyalty that Saleh has for his players, and Zach Wilson it gives us our best chance to win. No, he doesn't, bro. He just doesn't. He's not that guy. It sucks to admit it, you know, especially if you're the guy who was responsible for drafting him. But just move on.
Yeah, it's
just don't quit embarrassing yourself.
I want Zach Wilson to play well, and honestly, I will say this: if the game does not go well this week, I think Robert Saleh and then make a change. I do think that
Trevor Siemian, baby. Of all people to sign, there's so many free agents out there.
Hey, Siemian had his moments when he was at the Broncos.
Well.
But again, this is not what anyone wanted to hear, especially Jets fans when you started the season, especially when you thought still your wild card hopes were still alive even after that win against Buffalo. And then week by week, it's just slowly dwindling and dwindling.
It sucks, man. I feel bad for Jets fans.
I do.